Okay, we are recording.
Hello.
Okay, so this is our learning and teaching interaction for lessons 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our chapter of choice and our CES lessons. So should we just start with chapter 4?
Yeah, designing effective instruction.
Okay, so what I put on here is, obviously it's important for the presenter to not only organize, they need to organize their presentation to make it easier to present and easier for the audience, the listener. I love the part about telling stories to teach the principles. I personally learned so much better that way, so I enjoyed that section.
Me too.
I also liked the part about how the instructor responds to comments and answers to their questions. So I put a personal experience in here too. We had, there was an adult Sunday school teacher for gospel doctrine, and I would go to his class and he would literally ask a question and then kind of come up close to you and move into your personal space and then just kind of look at you and then ask you the question. And no matter what you said, it wasn't the right response or good enough or anything. And that's how he treated everyone in the class. And so finally, I quit going. He just terrified me. So
Yeah.
I learned from him so much how not to teach and what I didn't ever want to do to make my audience feel uncomfortable or not respected or not valid. So, so I did like that part about how to respond appropriately and how to ask questions. Those were my thoughts for chapter 4.
Cool. Yeah, I liked a lot of the same things you said. The finding instructional balance between leader and participants. That was kind of interesting to think about because I started thinking about the different teaching opportunities that I've had before and how sometimes that shifts. Sometimes we need to be more of the leader and the participant interaction isn't as much. And we kind of learned about that, I guess, in what was that, chapter 1 or 2, where it talked about maintaining the professional, can't remember what the word was, but maintaining that leadership while still involving the participants. But reading it in this chapter, it just made me really consider that more and like think about with the workshop, like certain areas, maybe I'll need to be more of the leader, and then other areas of the workshop, I'll ask for more participation. It might be more effective. So anyway, that got me really thinking about it. It's cool.
So you're doing a workshop then?
Yes. Yeah. What are you doing?
So I'm doing a workshop as well. And I think that leads to so much fun participation from the audience. I'm hoping.
Yeah, me too. Cool. Let's see. There was one other thing. For chapter 4, we talked about the first principles of instruction. It went through that instruction obviously addresses real problems. It activates existing knowledge. That was cool to read about, like how important that is to help them. And I think it helps them gain confidence too, that like, hey, I know some of this, and then just building on top of that. And then the idea of applying the new knowledge, obviously, is important. So
there was a quote later on. In fact, I think I used it in my outline, but it kind of responds to that. It said something like, people aren't uneducated, they're just uninformed. I mean, so it kind of goes into, it's not like you're not educated. We're just bringing new knowledge or just informing you to stuff that maybe you already know. I can't remember that quote, but it
cool.
Good.
I like that. Yeah, that's really cool.
All right. Anything else for chapter 4?
That was kind of all I talked about in my notes.
Chapter 5, engaging your audience. I wrote down the magic formula for engaging your audience is so simple. It's relevance, respect, and participation. Yeah. And so for relevance, we have a YSA. We're in the bishopric of a young single adult ward. So our YSA Institute teacher is fabulous. And no matter what level you're on as far as your spirituality or your knowledge or anything, he makes everyone in the classroom feel so important and so a part of the class, and he prepares well and teaches by the Spirit, and he just, everything he says is relevant. It's really, really cool. I've never been with such a great instructor. So I think the way he prepares spiritually and he teaches by the Spirit and just his preparation allows everything that he teaches to be relevant. So I love that. The second one was respect, and he respects everyone's opinion, and he's that kind of teacher that takes everyone's response and says, oh, that is so important, even though it's just way off topic.
Yeah,
somehow
he'll find a way to pull it in,
them back in,
because that's important for the participants to like I said, gain that confidence that they're contributing something, and then they have more confidence to learn more. So
yeah, it becomes a very safe space in his class, and
you can take a risk and like ask a question.
And you can share intimate things that you maybe wouldn't share in any other setting. It's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
This respect made me think of my husband. He is ultra conservative, and his political views are his political views. And if you don't agree with them, then your opinion is just wrong. So in our business, our employees they won't even voice their opinion. They'll even lie about their opinion, not to have to talk politics with my husband. He has no respect for other people's political opinions unless they are his own. And we keep working on this, but it is so hard for him. And I'm like, Jeff, you don't have any level of respect for other people, and then other people don't have that level of respect for you.
Right. It goes both ways, right?
Yes. So he's really working on that, but he just doesn't quite have it yet.
That's a hard one. I know my parents, or at least my mom, was raised kind of in a home that, things were either this way or you were wrong. And so I know that's hard too. I don't know how he was raised, but that's just a tricky one to navigate now with, like, at one time, I think that, being conservative was more at least, I shouldn't say, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I felt like it was more predominant, like the climate was more predominant in our country. And now that's like shifted, and the more vocal ones are obviously, typically more liberal. And so that's like hard to navigate that, especially with a business, I would think.
It is. And that's the only topic that he's like that with. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. But wow, I'm conservative and I don't like to talk to him about politics. That's funny. And then, and I wrote this quote from the lesson. Over the years, he came to the conclusion that most parents need education rather than therapy. They are not mentally ill. They are merely uninformed. That was that quote.
Yes. Now I know which one you're talking about. That was good. That stuck with me too, I think.
And then the other thought, to use that magic formula of relevance, respect, and participation, and the participation was the second one, or the third one, which we already kind of hit.
Yeah.
You need to have the humility, the compassion, and the positivity, which I love that stuff. So
yeah, totally. Cool. Let's see what else in chapter 5, man. This is the one that I kind of just kept writing and writing and writing.
There was so much.
I need to cut it down. All of them. But it talked about the different conflict theories. Mm-hmm. So, or the theories of personality. So there's conflict theories, and that's the idea that inherent conflict between family members' interests, or between an individual family member and the family as a whole. So the task of family life educators is really to teach the family members to gratify their own needs while at the same time respecting others' needs. And then there's the consistency model, where all humans want to reduce tension or difference between expectation and reality. And so FLE, the purpose there is to maybe present situations that challenge that traditional way of thinking. And then the third one was the fulfillment model, which is focusing on one's abilities and striving toward ideals, which, I thought was good. So the purpose of family life educators really is to be, is the idea that it's helpful for the participant and the educator to both believe in the view of the person's unlimited possibilities,
right?
And really hold that, hold it kind of sacred, and making that really important. So anyway, I thought those were interesting.
I love that. I love those. Anything else in there?
It talked about the relationships as a basis for helping. It talked about the 6 processes for joining together. I won't go through those, but I thought those were interesting too.
Yeah.
The specific method for capitalizing on emotion, which was interesting because when I read that, I was thinking, so before we started recording, I was sharing how Dr. Goddard is a friend of our family's. And so he used to speak at BYU Education Week every summer. And so I'd always go to his class, and he is such a master at this. Like, people sometimes, in fact, they no longer allow comments. Like, the teachers are not supposed to allow comments, but they used to. And so he would call on someone, and there were some like really bizarre comments. Yeah. And he just was like so good, kind of like we were saying earlier. Like, he just has this, it's like an art for him. He's just able to like turn it and shift it and almost make it sound like the person, he makes sense of what the person said, almost
yes.
like what they're trying to get at. Anyway, so I just really thought of him because that he's just such a master at that. But
it really is it's a talent.
It really is a gift, but it's one that we can develop. That's the cool part, is that
yes.
Like, I don't think I have that, at least not yet, but I have hope that I can develop something I can develop. And then it talked about, let's see, what was the last one? Those were kind of the most important things that I put down.
Okay. So chapter 6, teaching skills and tools in the family life education. This is a chapter I cut super short. The one skill that I have never used in teaching in any aspect was the fishbowl. And I thought,
I was reading that going,
that is
thought of that. It's genius.
Totally love that concept. So I've been asked to teach, we haven't hit marriage yet in a while with our young single adult ward. And so they asked me to do a fun get together lesson on, guys and girls, all that marriage stuff.
Oh, that'll be so
cool. When I read this, and I'd been praying about how I can do this differently, and it's on a Sunday, so I've got to be a little careful. Yep. And when I read this fishbowl, I went, that is it. That's what I'm doing, because I thought it was so cool that you can actually talk to a group of people and just have the other group sit and listen. No comments, no opinions, just listening. Mm-hmm. And then to reverse that, and then maybe have some type of Q&A at the end where where you can ask questions and share feelings and stuff afterwards. But I absolutely loved that fishbowl technique. Yeah. So I'm excited to use that. That
is going to be really cool. And it's so perfect that, I mean, in marriage, at least I know that I definitely could work on my listening skills. So like, that's such a good practice to already kind of have that dynamic of like, okay, it's they have the time to speak and to share, and I'm just focusing on listening, and then we switch. And I know I will be heard. I will have my turn.
Yes, but I would be the one in the back going, oh,
I know, right? Like sitting on my hands. It kind of made me think of that movie. This is terrible, but did you ever see The Lord of the Flies? Like that? Like,
oh my gosh, a long time ago. Yeah.
Anyway, where you had to have the conch to speak.
Yes.
So I have a friend that in their marriage, they have a conch, and like it changes every year. They pick a new object. It's like so funny. But anyway, that's what it made me think of that. The people in the middle have the conch. Anyway. Yeah,
whatever it takes to be able to communicate and learn and listen. That was so relevant to me. I loved that.
That'll be cool for that. I want to hear, when is that? Is that coming up soon?
It's in about, let's see, it's the second Sunday in March. So
okay, I'll have to hear. I want to hear how that goes. Cool. Okay, so so the fishbowl, and then there were the other ones that they listed. Buzz groups, personal narratives, and skill training. They talked about those things, but anyway. Yeah, that was a good one to cut down. I actually pretty much just, and then they also talked about, there was this huge long list: family councils and meetings, role playing, movie, internet clips, educational videos. They had that whole list, and that was really good. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of have forgotten about some of these. They seem like I've, even like cartoons. My husband and I, we're taking a class with Jennifer Finlayson Fife. She has a marriage class. And we've been working through that, and she uses a lot of cartoons, and she's good at that. Yeah, it's really, I marked down a bunch of stuff, and as I've been preparing for my workshop, I've incorporated some of those things. So it's been very cool. Anything else, or is that good? I think that's good. Let's see. Chapter 7, working with diverse audiences. I cut this one way down.
I did too. I put, it is easy to invite, teach, and keep the spirit while you are teaching, if you plan and prepare with the spirit. So this was one of the reflective questions. There was always something that's going to knock you off your game or distract you. But I feel like if you prepare with the spirit and pray that the spirit's with you, that even though you get knocked off your game a little bit, the spirit helps you kind of get back in there. So that's one way. I think that's the best way to work with a diverse audiences, whether you're in a church audience or not. And then the skill dialogue. Oh, that goes right back to the magic formula of engaging your audience. And I just talked about the humility, the compassion, and the positivity. Makes it easy to reciprocate and have a good response with humility in your classroom. So I just love those. Those are such positive, good words.
And I know, I can't remember which chapter it was in, but we're at, I think maybe it was in the 8th one. I don't know. But where it talks about the family life educator recognizing that the participant is basically the expert on their life. They know what resources they have access to, what their family dynamics are. And that was another one where I thought of Wally, just that he is so good at when he's like, not that he ever said, oh, you're the expert of your family or whatever, but he just had this way of communicating that, and everything he said, he was so respectful. You could tell he really respects the people's, thoughts about what would and would not work in their families. And anyway, just seeing that in action is really powerful. It makes me want to develop that, the ability to do that.
And they'll share and ask questions. And I think it makes them more humble to learn as well. Totally. When they feel respected and understood by the instructor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
Otherwise, I know people just throw up those walls and
the defenses. Yeah, totally.
All right. And then what chapter did you read?
I chose chapter 8.
I did too.
It was a good chapter.
Oh, so what is your workshop on?
Mine is on body image parenting and parents helping teens with body image issues.
Okay.
Because
mine's called Feed Your Happy. It's about positive psychology and mind, so this chapter I just had loads of information and a lot of stuff that I had already found. So it was great. I loved it. Awesome. Let me just hit some highlights. It's 3:28. Are you okay?
I'll be okay. You know what? Probably another 5 minutes. Let's go another 5.
So I liked the part, it's education for personal well-being. It talked about taking self-esteem and taking care of yourself. And I remember when you're flying on a plane where it says you first have to take care of yourself before you can, assist someone near you or your own children. And so this was kind of that same thing as you have to treat the family, but you really have to help that individual to be a positive, to positively contribute to the family as well. So I liked that. I learned about the 2 things I learned about was savoring the future. So we're starting a new branch of our company, and my husband is so positive and he's just excited and everything is just great. And then I'm the person in the relationship that says, oh my gosh, are you sure? Or I worry about this, or did you think about this? Or what if this happens? And I need to savor the future more and be more positive and excited for him. So I'm working on that. And then of course, I love the strength aspect of the whole thing about using your strengths to serve others, because that really is truly how we find purpose in life.
Totally.
All right, you go ahead. There was so much in that chapter. Oh my gosh.
It was so good. And it's funny that I wrote the same thing, savoring the past and the future, especially. I have really tried working on savoring the past more. Probably the last, 2-3 years, I've tried to be more conscious of that. But I do love this concept of really savoring the future. And I'm sorry I keep bringing him up. I just, obviously when I'm reading the text, I think of like everything he says in his workshop, because his class at BYU Education Week, it's all 5 days, and it's like 3.5 hours if you take all 3 of his classes. Anyway, but he talks about when a child is unhappy, like he was talking about, they went on a road trip and one of their children was unhappy. They wanted a teddy bear that they had left at home or something like that. And so he talks about one of the best ways in parenting to help our kids is to help them savor the future. Like, oh, what will that be like when we get back home and you have your teddy bear? And he like talks them through it and says, oh, won't that be so nice? And you can feel the soft fur of the teddy bear and you'll just feel comforted. And he talks about how in our brains think that it's real. Like it doesn't, when we're talking ourselves through it, we're having the same emotions and feelings and our brains are giving off the same chemicals as if it's actually happening. And so he talks about the very real psychology there. And how that works with parenting too. And I was like, oh, that's a really good one.
I love that. I love that.
Cool stuff. Anyway, yeah, that whole chapter was really good. And then it talked about the educational frameworks, choosing positive as a focus of inquiry, or choosing the positive as a focus of inquiry, inquiring into the exceptionally positive moments, this idea of reminiscing on the good things, sharing stories and identifying the life-giving forces, creating shared images of a preferred outcome, and then innovating and improvising ways to create that future. So I thought those were really important too. Anyway, cool.
Well, that was easy.
That was easy.
All right. So I will stop broadcasting and then I'll put this on the link today right after we're done so I don't forget.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you for meeting today. I really appreciate it. You're awesome.
Thank you. You have a great Valentine's Day.
Thank you. You too. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.